Jam with Sam. Jam with Sam.
Bonjour, Annie.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. That's about the limit of French I know, even though I did study French for 4 years. So I can still, yeah. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Okay. It's a pleasure to have you for the 88th episode of Jam with Sam, hosted by Neural Maven. So tell us something, where did you grow up? Of course, I can't see you grew up in Mumbai. She's not grown up in Mumbai. Something about your school and college education. And was it your goal to become part of the world stage?
I grew up, I'm from a very small town in rural Canada. I'm from the province of Quebec. I'm French Canadian. And it's a town of 15,000 people. Even my dad thinks there's too many people in that town.
I think there are 15,000 people in this hotel right now.
And it's called Rivière du Loup. So in English it's Wolf River, but turn it in French and it's Rivière du Loup, where I'm from. Grew up there, and then we moved, and I ended up doing my teenage years in Lévis, close to Quebec City. And I went to university at Laval University in Quebec City. I did my undergrad there and my MBA in international business.
Okay.
All of it in French.
All in French?
Yes.
Wow.
During my undergrad, I even went to Gabon, Central Africa, for 2.5 years on my own. And that's when I realized, I adapt quickly to other places, so maybe there's something there, doing something international. But otherwise, it's more, life gives you the right path sometimes, or give you the right signs, and if you listen enough, you'll find your way.
Absolutely. So did you ever think of getting into the government and the world stage at that time when you were a kid? Not at all.
I did my first year of MBA. I was after my first year, I was on a dean list or something, and there was a cocktail, and someone said, "Did you apply for the jobs?" And I was like, "Which jobs?" And they were like, "Well, you go on jobs.gc.ca, which is the site of the government of Canada for any jobs, and you apply." I was like, okay, I had no clue what that was. I just went, I saw post-secondary recruitment. I was like, okay, I'm sure I'll apply. And I joined as a trade commissioner in the foreign service of the government of Canada.
Oh. You have to get into that, we have to pass a lot of entrance exams, and we have to be from various categories of...
We do too.
No, but it's much more tougher. You have 15,000 people here, we have 15,000 people sitting for
We're
the exam.
36 million in Canada, come on, it's like 1.5 Mumbai.
Okay, so we come to fun times. If you were a dictator of a small country, what crazy dictator things you would like to do?
I would love to put everybody on keto diet.
Keto?
No, but seriously, sugar will kill you.
Yes.
I'm just saying. So fat is not the problem. It's all the carbs, the empty carbs that people eat. And so I personally am a big fan of keto diet. I have friends who have arthritis that have really managed the symptoms and the illness with that, and I'm a big fan. I just came back though from Gujarat, so it's a bit tough on the keto diet.
She had a full Gujarati meal which she says is sprinkled with sugar everywhere.
Indeed.
Okay.
So this is one thing. The other thing is I would force everybody to meditate every morning for 20 minutes. I do every morning. If I don't, you will notice. But to me, it's all this mindfulness thing that people think, oh my God, it's so new age. It works if you practice consistently. So keto diet and meditating.
Okay.
Obliged to everyone here.
Okay. So if you could move anywhere with a livable wage, where would you like to move?
Well, I just don't like to be at the same place too long. I've been in Mumbai I was there 2005 to 2007 for 2 years. I went to Korea, I went to Switzerland. 4 years was very long for me. Even Switzerland was beautiful, but 4 years was a bit too long. And so I would just move around anywhere. I don't mind as long as I have the right people with me.
Absolutely. Who's your favorite superhero or heroine?
When a Superwoman came out, the movie, I went to the movie theater with my daughter only. I wanted her to have a strong role model there. And then I realized, well, that's great on screen TV, but there's so many people on a daily basis who are superheroes. I was mentioning I just came back from Gujarat. I was there with Vibha Bakshi, the director and producer of Sunrise, SON, which is a great documentary of, well, it's about women empowerment, but also men being the heroes of supporting women's rights and really going all the way in and really risking sometimes their lives, really. It was shot in Haryana, and I thought, okay, these are inspiring people, and there's so many of them around us. So these are the heroes, our everyday heroes.
Okay, so you come to your professional career. You started as a part of the Foreign Affairs and International Trade from 2003 to 5. What was that role about? What did you do there? What was the role?
Well, first they put me in language training.
Okay.
I needed to learn English. Because in rural Canada, where I'm from, we have radio, TV, everything in French, and so I never felt the need to learn that much English until you walk out of the province. You're like, oh, we feel really alone all of a sudden. So, and Canada has 2 official languages,
yes.
so it was really a question of representing the country properly and being able to work in any of the official languages.
Okay.
So after that, I did.
You came to Mumbai.
Well, I was an economic policy officer during that time for APAC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. So from headquarters, representing Canada in some of these conferences, if you will. We had summits and stuff. So.
Okay. So then you came to Mumbai as Vice Counsel and Trade Commissioner in 2005-07.
Yeah.
So tell us about what was your role?
After living in Gabon in 1997 to 2000, I wanted to go back to Africa. There were not a lot of openings at my level in Africa, so I thought, well, where else? Because I wanted to make a difference. You know, I did my MBA in international business, and I thought, I would love to do sustainable development in some ways. And to me, it was more, well, if you bring the private sector in developing countries and they can create jobs, then we can see the sustainable development because the economic angle can be taken care of. And so as a trade commissioner, to me, well, where do we want to do business between Canada and which country? India is a very obvious choice. And when you think of India, well, Mumbai is definitely the place to be.
Okay. So then you went back to Canada as an advisor to a deputy minister. How did it feel to go back?
Cold. Yeah, like skipping a few winters is always great. Going back, I was truly inspired to work for Marie-Lucie Morin, the deputy minister at the time, a strong woman who has really inspired a lot of people in the department. So this was exciting, that part. And then from there, I left. Another posting.
Okay, so then you went to Seoul.
Yeah.
For 2 years.
Yes.
So what would you do there as a trade commissioner? You were between Canada and.
Yeah, Canada and Korea. And after my time there, we signed a free trade agreement between Canada and Korea. So this is really a great marketing tool first, but also it gives a lot of advantages to companies wanting to benefit from the agreement. And so to us, it was a great way of for Kenyan companies to expand into new markets.
Okay, so you had a free trade agreement. So they, no duties or anything.
Well, there are thousands and thousands of lines of tariffs, so I'm not sure you want me to go into detail of that.
So 4 years you're in a cold country, which must have made you feel like home. You're in Switzerland. So what was your role here, and what is one thing you liked about Bern?
Switzerland is not that cold, I have to say.
No?
No. Ottawa is the second coldest capital in the world.
Oh.
And so Switzerland was great in terms of weather.
Okay.
The thing I loved about Bern, well, my 2 kids were both born in Bern, and so to me, I have fond memories of Bern from the the settling in of my family type of thing. The challenging part is that they're 14 months apart. This I don't recommend.
Okay.
But yes, Bern was a great place to live, definitely, and great air quality, to say.
And the Swiss banks?
I could not, well, unless I was residing there, I could open a bank account, but I'm not a Swiss resident, so I cannot keep my bank account.
So if you're Indian resident, you can open a Swiss bank account?
If you're a Swiss, here in India? Yeah, I have an Indian bank account now.
Okay. So 3 years back to Canada, could you brief us on you are doing this advocacy and promotion of SATA?
You know what SATA is, right?
Yeah. So
it's the
comprehensive.
Sure. The SATA is the comprehensive economic trade agreement between Canada and the EU. First, we wanted to make sure that it was getting ratified, and the EU being, well, still now 28 countries. Each country has its own process for ratification, so advocating for the countries to ratify, they have to ratify 28 times, we ratify once, We have a much shorter timeline and not as many issues as they do. Canada being a trading country, we would not survive without trade. So we made sure that we would understand the issues and we would address them. And we deployed our minister and our envoy where needed when in due time. And then we wanted to make sure that once it was enforced, that Kenyan companies could benefit from it.
Okay. So then you were in India from 2005-7. You saw the country, and then you came back to India after 11 years.
How crazy is that?
What are the top 3 changes you've seen from there and now?
Okay. My role was very different then and now. So I was a trade commissioner, and our office, we used to be 2 Canadians and 12 local staff.
Okay.
Now we're 40. So
40.
It's very different also in terms of our presence. So back then I was mostly in Mumbai and mostly focused on trading relations. Now I look a lot at women empowerment. And sometimes I want to keep hope that things will change because I see change, but I would like the change to go faster and everybody will find their own rhythm. This is one thing that I've seen a bit of a difference there. Obesity doubled in the last 10 years. And I noticed it first because of how I felt with the people around me, not because of the stats. And then I looked at the stats and I realized the obesity doubled. I was kind of shocked. And that's why we need to put everybody on keto diet.
And the third thing?
Pollution.
Pollution.
But also the city grew so much that I can understand that there's a bit of catching up, and then after that we need to reinvest in really clean technologies.
What, according to you, does the word feminism mean? And what's that one thing which made you sit up and said, I got to do something about this?
I hate the word feminism. Because from a Francophone perspective, feminism, it's like femme being women, and it sounds like a woman's problem. But feminism is a society problem. I should say I'm anti-patriarchy.
Anti-patriarchy, okay.
Because to me, the reality is if you have everybody contributing to your country in any way they can to their full potential, not to what will serve a certain category of male in the society, then you have a chance at bringing the country to the next level. So if you think of, I don't know, some girls in some rural India who's doing really good in school, she's completed her 12th standard, but the parents would rather keep their money for the son who's a bit younger, then unfortunately she won't be able to contribute to her best, for the greater good of India. So why I became a feminist? I'm a late bloomer on that front. My husband is Indian, born and raised. I met him in my first posting here in 2005, and that could explain why I wanted to come back as well. So my kids are Indo-Canadians.
Wow.
They don't have the citizenship of India because India doesn't recognize dual citizenship. But they may face some discriminatory comments that I never faced when I was young, because in rural Canada we don't have enough pairs of hands to contribute to whatever we have to do. And so everybody contributes regardless of the gender. Here the society has different perspective and there's traditions that we don't necessarily understand, but I don't want my daughter to face discrimination based on her gender. I have a daughter and a son, and I want to make sure my daughter has the same access of opportunities.
Absolutely. I like that. Okay, so coming to some more serious questions. Climate change, it's happening. I mean, we can see it, it's right now, we are in December and still there's so much of, it's still hot. What is Canada doing? Canada is not one of the countries. I mean, India, China, US, they are countries who contributing global warming. So what is Canada doing to?
Well, as you may know, we have a very active oil industry. This is one thing. But we also have a very active clean tech. We have a vibrant ecosystem for entrepreneurs for clean technology. And there's been a lot of support that the government has provided so that we can encourage innovation in that front. This is one thing so that we can compensate, but also we started taxing polluters. We have a carbon tax. The government has been implementing in the last few years. So, you know, you
Doing
cannot
it-
be
doing it.
polluting freely.
Okay.
There's a cost to it because otherwise we're taxing next generation. So.
Okay. So the language, French versus English in Canada.
People think I'm German when I speak English.
So there's a great divide which is there. You know, there's Canada, there's French speaking, and there's. Could you tell us a bit about the history? I mean, how come there are both? You know, if you go to US, it's just English. Most of the places just English. So why was this there? And there was a referendum also in between for making I think Quebec as a separate province. So can you give us a brief about the history?
Sure. The French. There were a few. Ships discovering North America as the East Indies, apparently they thought. And the French in the, I think the late 1400s, early 1500s, they started discovering and settling in some people. Quebec City was founded in 1608 by the French, Samuel de Champlain. And from there, the Brits wanted in, and then they were coming in from one way, not the other, and stuff. So if you look at the map, the East Coast, what is known now as Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, all our great provinces from the Atlantic, Prince Edward Island, I'm missing one. Anyway, Newfoundland, Labrador, and then from there, Quebec and Ontario. So. Through these movement of people from Europe, there's been a lot of people from everywhere. The Vikings came before that. You know, there's a lot of things. They didn't last long, apparently. But you know, it's just that at one point we're a country of immigrants, and from there, the battle was in 1759 on the Plaine d'Abraham in Quebec City, and the Brits fought against the French and they won, and that was it.
Okay.
But then the French, from there, we all came together protecting our bit of land and our culture and our accent, because our accent is different from the French from France, because it was probably the accent in the 1600s and 1700s.
Yes.
So from there, the Brits continued sending people, filling in the country. The United States, there was a battle between what is known now as Canada and between the United States. The United States didn't want to stay linked, they were not loyalists, linking to the crown in Britain. And we wanted to stay with the crown in Britain. And so there was this fight, then there was the new division between the countries, and so it was the Dominion of Canada. And in 1982, which is still very recent, we repatriated the Constitution back to Canada, so we were not a Dominion anymore. So we're a very young country, but the Constitution was signed initially in 1867, so we're 150 plus.
Yes, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but in the end, they've got both French and English.
Yes, because there were acts that were put together so that Francophones could keep their language, and there were protections around it. The United States, there was Louisiana, they don't speak French anymore because they decided not to protect it, and from a lot of different reasons, I'm sure. But from a Canadian perspective, I think that there's still people speaking French in North America because this is Canada.
I think Punjabi has become the third language of.
It's the third official language spoken
is Punjabi. Fantastic. Okay, education in Canada. So a lot of us, want to send our kids. So what is the opportunities for kids as well as adults like us to get educated in Canada?
Adults like you. India is our most important source of foreign students right now. We have almost 200,000 Indian students going to Canada for more than 6 months programs. So to us, having foreign students, and mostly from India, is a great way of, we keep saying diversity is our strength, but seeing it in the classroom makes it much truer, and you can do a lot more when you have these different people of different origins in the same class, because you have a lot more perspective, and having these difference of opinions will make your product, service, company way much stronger, and your learning way much richer. So going to Canada for studying or for any other thing, I would encourage you to consider.
Thank you. Pitches. Okay. What do you think are the top 3 things Canada and India can do together?
We have to work on climate change.
Yes.
Technology-wise, anything. This is one thing. We could also do great Indian recipes with Canadian ingredients, like gulab jamun with maple syrup.
Sounds interesting. Interesting.
Or we have great lentils and pulses, just saying.
Okay, interesting.
The other thing, I need to do 3. We can make kids. I mean, my kids.
It's a good one. It's a good one. Okay, Justin Trudeau, the man, tell us about him. He has an aura about himself, knitting together the vast rainbow. There are Canadians, immigrants. I mean, I've seen a Punjabi, defense minister is Punjabi.
Yes.
You have, LGBT. I mean, he's doing everything. Why does he have such an aura? I mean, he was like that, or has he evolved? Tell us a bit, because you may know him better than us.
Well, first time I met him, he had just been elected in 2015, in October
Yes.
2015, and it was 31st October 2015. And for those of you who know, it's Halloween day, obviously. So he was doing trick or treat around the block where he lives, and I used to live just close by. So he came home to get my candies for his son.
Wow.
So that was the first time I met with him. I met him a few more times when he was in Davos and I was posted in Bern. We were supporting the delegation there. Or I met him before coming out as head of mission as part of our training and also. I find him very personable. He knows his file inside out. And I don't know what it is. Some people have star powers. And so I cannot explain it. But it's working for him. So.
Doing that. So how difficult is the political scenario in Canada versus India? I mean, we have the elections, we elect people. So you have multiple parties over there. How does it happen?
You want federal, provincial, municipal, which level?
The top level, federal.
We have a British parliamentary system.
Okay.
We love our crown, so you know.
We used to also love our crown. We still love our crown, no? Don't we? I mean, we keep, whenever there's something which happens, we say the British should have been here. No, we not have a problem. Okay.
And so we have. Hold on. Our election were just 21st October.
Yes.
Okay, we have. If I start from a bit more left, we have the Green Party and the NDP. Neo-Democratic Party it's called, and then we have the Liberals, and then we have the Conservatives. And we're mostly roughly central left or central right. We're kind of roughly, because we still have strong social values in Canada. We have universal healthcare, we have education that is highly subsidized in provinces for Canadians. There were even talks in these last elections of pharmacare, so who knows, right? But there's this sense of a need of a social net for people. Yes. So the parties, there's a few of them. The two that are mostly competing one with another that have been in power alternating, the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party. And so.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so we come to quick gun, Sam, one witty answer. Justin Bieber or Celine Dion?
Celine Dion, because I loved how she keeps renewing, she keeps reinventing herself. She's now a fashionista, whatever, and she's all over the media now. I find that really inspiring that she just keeps pushing her art to the next level, but also developing a personality that is kind of to the next level, and she's keep pushing the envelope. So. Okay,
Justin Bieber will be unhappy, you know.
I'm sorry, I never met him, but I never met Celine either. But, she's Quebecoise, so.
Okay, Canadian Club or Canada Dry?
None. What about champagne?
Canada makes champagne?
No, but I can drink it.
Okay.
Oh, but we have great ice wine though.
Yeah, and I tasted it.
And we have great wine, red wine, white wine. We just don't produce enough to export. But otherwise, if you go to Canada, go to Niagara-on-the-Lake or Okanagan Valley, so either in Ontario or on the West Coast. Great wines there.
Okay. Anindita, we had the wine last time. Pancakes or dosa?
Yeah. Can we make sweet dosa?
Sweet. We put maple syrup over the dosa. That's it. It's become sweet dosa over there.
I don't react well to highly spiced.
Highly spiced food. Okay. Okay. Lamb or chicken?
Bacon.
Oh, yes. Yes. And he knows that. So we are going to invite you to Sofitel next time for the morning breakfast with bacon. Okay, so coming to social media, which platform you're comfortable with and how do you use it?
Well, I got the blue tick. I'm on Twitter.
You're on Twitter.
But I find that it's not reaching the people I would
Hmm.
like to reach. And so any social media platform has a specific audience. So my public affair person in the office forced me to open an Instagram account, and I am still struggling with this thing of picture taking and stuff. I hate pictures. Anyway, just saying. So I'm more comfortable with Twitter because I can write,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
240 characters, and it's my type of writing.
Yes,
In the
yes.
department, we have to write reports, and I'm like, oh, this is long. I can write you a tweet. I started also doing a podcast.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah, tell
find
us
that,
about the podcast. Yeah.
yeah, I find that really interesting because, you know, people don't know what the relationship between Canada and India is. They're like, oh yeah, nice country, north of the United States. That's great. Nice landscape, great maple syrup. That's basically like what people have in mind, the more traditional views of Canada. I want people to start understanding the relationship in a more nuanced way, like why someone comes to Mumbai, takes the time to spend a week or two here to search for something. I'm going to launch season 2, a little plug here, probably in January. We're starting off with Lisa Ray, who's Canadian.
Hmm.
So that should be interesting.
So you have to get on my show next time.
Perfect.
And I'm a big fan of Lisa Ray. Okay.
You should read her book.
Yeah,
Close
she
to
just
the Bone is
yeah.
really good.
Okay, so do you have a protocol? See, as you are representing the Canadian government, do you have a protocol what you can post and what you can't post on social media?
It's my personal account.
So that's like hidden.
It's my personal account. No, it's
Yeah.
not hidden. It's clear. If you look at my little description on Twitter, Consul General of Canada in Mumbai, mother, full-time feminist. You know,
Yeah.
it's clear. It's there. But it's my personal views,
Opinions.
and
Okay.
retweet does not mean endorsement. However, we need to be responsible
Yes.
as leaders.
Yes.
So I think that whatever we put out should be inspiring people, not necessarily creating tensions and a climate of hatred,
Hatred.
messaging. Sorry, I'm French Canadian. But to me, it's how do you make sure to use these platforms for the greater good.
Very good.
The only limitation is, as a public servant, I have an obligation to respect our democratic process.
Yes.
So through the election process, in fact, at the end of June until the cabinet was sworn in at the end of November, I had a very limited engagement
Yes.
through
You
social
couldn't
media.
come. You couldn't come on the show also.
I just
Yeah,
prefer
yeah,
to
yeah,
postpone it, so
yeah,
to be
yeah.
on the safe side. But my only obligation is the respect for democratic process. So I cannot be seen as intervening in a process where people would be like, obviously, she was named as head of mission there, so now she's saying this to help one. And you never know how things will
Yes,
unfold,
yes.
right? So I would rather stay clear during that.
Stay clear of the trolls. Like, okay. Tell us about your family.
Well, as I mentioned to you, my husband is Indian, born and raised, and I love using my personal story for hopefully inspiring more women in, being more independent or empowered or anything. My husband is from Delhi. My in-laws are still in Delhi, and we met in Mumbai when I came in 2005. We started dating in 2005. Ooh, his parents only will see it. Because this is not the traditional way, obviously. I left in 2007, so we continued a bit of a long-distance relationship, and I applied to become his wife because his parents were putting ads in the papers to find a bride for him because he was getting old. So I applied because he was more like oh gosh, if I marry her, it means that I leave India and I have to resign from my job, because that was clear. I'm not resigning for a man here. I'm the one who's. My dad always said, don't ever be dependent on a man. So I followed my dad's advice, and he resigned from his job when we got married.
Super.
He came with me to Korea.
Super.
And our kids were born in Switzerland. And from there, well, we have two lovely kids. Elizabeth just turned 7, and Benjamin is about to turn 6. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely. What are your hobbies? You like reading?
Someone said they do cake decorating. I love baking.
Oh.
But now that I'm on keto, I have a harder time. But now almond flour, coconut flour, it's great for baking the keto version. But it doesn't cut it fully, so I'm still struggling with that. And yes, I read a bit, yeah.
If tomorrow you get a call that you're being appointed as an ambassador to India of Canada, what would be your reaction?
You mean Indian ambassador to Canada? Like going back to Ottawa to represent India? I'm not Indian citizen.
No. I mean the other way around.
Oh, so the
Yeah,
Canadian
yeah,
ambassador,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
the Canadian
yeah,
High Commissioner
yeah,
here
yeah,
in Delhi.
Yeah.
I would.
You would.
Yeah. That's the, in fact, that's my plan.
Plan.
I'll come back as High Commissioner, then we'll see.
Fantastic. Thank you
No
so
ambition whatsoever.
That's a good one. Thank you, Annie. It was such fun interviewing you. Lovely.